Okay, this is your screencast for lesson 3.7. Today's essential question is, how can you use the strategy draw a diagram to solve multi-step multiplication problems? Okay, so we're going to be using everything we've been learning in chapter 3 to help us solve word problems or multiplication problems. We're going to be using a graphic organizer to help us today and draw a diagram. Our problem today says, during the 2010 Great Backyard Bird Count, an average of 42 bald eagles were counted in each of 20 locations throughout Alaska. In 2009, an average of 32 bald eagles were counted in each of 26 locations throughout Alaska. Based on this data, how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009? We're going to use this graphic organizer down below to help solve the problem. The first part says, read the problem. When we read it, the first thing we need to know is, what do I need to find? We're going to underline what I need to find. So when I go back to the problem, they're asking me how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than in 2009. So down here, I need to find how many more bald eagles. So how many more bald eagles were counted in 2010 than 2009? When I hear how many more, that already tells me that I'm going to be comparing numbers, because one's going to be more than the other. Okay. I also need to know what information I need to use. So I'm going to circle the clues I need to use. What information do I need to use? Well, if I'm comparing 2010 to 2009, then I need to know how many in 2010. Well, it says an average of 42 bald eagles in 2010 at 20 locations. And then in 2009, it says 32 bald eagles in 26 locations. So they're not giving me the number for each location. I have to figure that out. Or each year, I have to figure that out. Okay? In 2010, 20 locations counted an average of 42 bald eagles each. In 2009, 26 locations counted an average of 32 bald eagles each. Okay, now that I have the information that I'm going to need to use to figure out the numbers I'm going to compare, I'm going to go down and think about, how will I use this information that I've just gotten. This problem involves multi-step, so I can solve simpler problems. I'm going to find the number of bald eagles counted in 2010. Then I'm also going to find the number of bald eagles counted in 2009. That's what I'll use this information here to do. Then I'm going to draw a bar model to compare the 2010 count to the 2009 count. So it's really two steps. When I move over to solving the problem, how can I find the number of bald eagles counted in 2010? Well, from what I know, in 2010 there were 20 locations, and at each of those locations they count an average of 42 bald eagles. So that's 20 times 42, or 42 times 20. Okay, to solve that problem, I'm going to use some mental math, and I'm going to multiply 42 times 2 tens. And then I've got 42 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So that means in 2010 there were 84 tens. When I change that to standard form, that's 840 bald eagles counted in 2010. Okay. Next, I'm going to find the total number of bald eagles counted in 2009. That was 32 bald eagles on average at 26 different locations. So that would be 32 times 26. For this problem, I'm going to use expanded form and partial products. So I'm going to expand out 32 into 30 and 2, and I'm going to expand 26 into 20 and 6. And then I'm going to multiply 3 times 2 is 6, and then I've got 2 zeros, so 600. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 0 makes 40. 3 times 6 is 18, and I have 1 0 from the 30. 6 times 2 is 12. Now I'm going to take all my partial products in here inside the box, and I'm going to add them up. Make sure you line them up when you add. So that would be 2 ones. And then 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 1 more is 13, so I'm going to put 3 down. I'm going to regroup the 1, and I have 1 plus 6 plus 1, which is 8. So 832 bald eagles counted in 2009. Okay. Now I know, though, so far I found the total number of bald eagles counted in 2010 and the total number in 2009. Now I need to draw a bar model to compare the 2010 count to the 2009 count. Down here I have a bar for 2010, 840 bald eagles, and then 2009 was 832 bald eagles. I know that this bar is longer because it had more bald eagles spotted in 2010 than in 2009. To find how many more were seen in 2010, I need to take my number for 2010 and subtract the number from 2009. So 840 minus 832, which I could just count up to 840 and know that it's 8. So there are 8 more bald eagles counted in 2010 than in 2009.
Okay, here we're going to try another problem. This one says Prescott Valley, Arizona reported a grand total of 29 mourning doves in the Great Backyard Bird Count. Mesa, Arizona reported 20 times as many mourning doves as Prescott Valley. If Chandler reported a total of 78 mourning doves, how many more mourning doves were reported in Chandler than in Mesa? Okay, so we're going to start and we're going to underline what we need to find. How many more mourning doves were reported in Chandler than in Mesa? And I'm going to circle Chandler and Mesa because I know that because it says how many more, we're going to be comparing Chandler to Mesa. Okay, and these are places. So Chandler and Mesa, they would be places where you would find birds like this. Okay, so when we underline what we need to find this down here. It says, what do I need to find? How many more, what we just said, mourning doves are in Chandler than Mesa. Okay. What information do I need to use? So we're going to circle the clues that we need to use. Okay. And Prescott Valley, Arizona had a total of 29 mourning doves. So I'm going to circle Prescott, and I'm going to draw a little line that puts Prescott and 29 together because there were 29 in Prescott. And then Mesa reported, and I'm going to draw my little line, 20 times as many mourning doves as Prescott. 20 times. Times is a key word there. What operation are you going to do when you hear times? 20 times as many. You know that you're going to be multiplying. In my class, we've talked about when we see keywords, we're just going to put the little symbol for the operation. So I just put a little multiplication sign to remind me later that I have to multiply. If Chandler reported a total of 780 mourning doves, how many more? So Chandler goes with 760 mourning doves. Okay. So down here, it's wanting you to just kind of record the information that you need to use. And I'm just going to do it in bullets here. Prescott Valley I'm going to draw an arrow, was 29. I'm going to just write doves. And Mesa was 20 times as many as Prescott. And then Chandler had 760 doves. So now I have all the information I need right there. Now I just need to think about, well, how am I going to use this information? I'm going to use this information to find the number of mourning doves in Mesa, because that's what we're wanting to know. Okay, to find the number of mourning doves in Mesa, and then that's going to help me. This is a two-step problem. Okay, so my first step is going to be to find the number of mourning doves in Mesa, and then my second step is going to be to compare, and we know when it said how many more, that tells us that we're comparing. Okay, to compare the number of mourning doves, so the number of doves in Chandler than Mesa. So we have two steps here. Alright, let's go ahead and start with step one. I'm just going to label this as step one, and we need to find the number of mourning doves in Mesa. Okay, I'm going to go back up here. I know that Prescott Valley has 29, and Mesa has 20 times as many as Prescott Valley. Okay, 20 times as many. So I know I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to do 29 times 20. Okay, and you're going to multiply those two numbers. So do 29 times 20. Okay. 0 times 9 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Hold your place value there. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Okay, so that tells me that there are 580 doves in Mesa. I've successfully completed my step one to find how many doves are in Mesa. Now I'm going to use a bar model to compare. Remember, step two was to compare the number of doves in Chandler than Mesa. So there are 760 in Chandler. It just came out and told us that. Okay, right here. 760 in Chandler. And I know now that there are 580 in Mesa. Okay, but I need to know how many more. How many more? What operation am I going to do for that keyword? Think in your head. If you thought in your head subtraction, you are correct. We're going to subtract 760 minus 580. Okay, because there are more mourning doves in Chandler than there are in Mesa, and we want to know this unknown number right here. Okay, we want to know how many more Chandler has. So this actually right here is how I like to show it. How many more are in this part of the bar model? 760 minus 580. 0 minus 0 is 0. 6 minus 8 can't do. Borrow 1 from the 7. 7 becomes a 6. 6 becomes a 16. 16 minus 8 is 8. 6 minus 5 is 1. So that tells us that right here there are 180 more. Okay, so here this would be 580 from here to here. Okay, and then over on this side there would be 180 more because it's in Chandler. Okay, so 180 more doves in Chandler than Mesa. Down at the bottom it's saying